Welcome to GBIRL, the podcast looking at the real business world of esports, gaming, and streaming with the people and personalities behind it all. Here is your host, Bill the Conqueror.
All right, everybody, welcome back to the podcast. Thanks for being here. I appreciate everyone who has watched and listened over the past several years. And if you've listened to me for any length of time, you will recognize the voice of the guy that you see on the screen. You might not recognize his face because last time we chatted, I didn't do video interviews. But Josh Hafkin, the founder of GameGym Esports, he was one of the very first interviews that I ever did when I started this thing 3 years ago. April 23rd, 2018 was my very first interview with Josh. I was scrolling back through the chat history on Discord, and I'm scrolling back through, I'm looking at this like, holy crap, I have been doing this for quite a while now. And there's been ups and downs and struggle and growth. And I wanted to circle back with Josh because I remember, Josh, the first time we talked, you were barely off the ground. We talked in April and you're talking about in the next 2 months, we're going to do this and do this and do this. And I'm like, okay, small business trying to get off the ground. And here you are 3 years later. GameGym Esports has made a ton of progress, partnerships, and events. And I'm like, this is a good time to catch up. I'd love to hear Josh's story about some of those early struggles, especially, I especially want to know, when was the moment you're like, this is actually going to work. This is going to work. How and it's that moment that a lot of small business people struggle to get to. They're like, and they realize, okay, yeah, this is actually gonna work. But before we get to that, first time on video of our conversation, please, Josh, reintroduce yourself to everybody. Please do.
Hey, everybody. Thank you, Bill, for having me. This is super cool. You just saying all that just made me feel like so nostalgic and reminds me, I started GameGym in February. So I talked to you in April. So yeah. we were at the very beginning of our things, and yeah. It's very cool to be doing this. I guess to introduce myself, my name's Josh Hafkin. I'm the founder and CEO of GameGym. We are an esports training and broadcast center. And over the years, we've done everything from private lessons, afternoon programs, birthdays. We've hosted professional teams. We've run events. We created content. We run a charity, a series of events. We've done leagues. We've pretty much done it all. And one of the things that we're kind of now is our flagship is our super, unique and holistic summer camps, where we're trying to bring kind of like gaming and a really cool kind of traditional summer camp experience together in a cool way. So that's kind of, who I am and what we do.
I'm thrilled for your success because I remember very well in the conversation we had in April of 2018. I'm thinking like, he's got a good vibe here. He's got a good vibe. He has a good team. He's in a great area to pull it off. You got tons of people around. You got a lot of smart people who aren't in gaming who I'm sure would love to get involved. You got a ton of contacts. There are colleges all over the place on the East Coast. I mean, you guys have the highest concentration of higher learning in the entire nation in like a space of 200 miles. There's like 50 to 100 colleges just wanting to have activities and draw students in. So that first year from when you launched in June of 2018, that first year, what was that like?
It was interesting. I think it was a sprint. Like it was everything every day to try to make this thing work. And right. There's different phases of a business, and one of the tough parts is when it actually kind of did work, and then you needed to shift to this more sustainable, like as a person you have to give for something to like work and build. But when it's, you're trying to create from nothing to an idea, you have to give 100%. But then once it works, you have to like take care of yourself and take, be with your family. You've got to you got to balance a little bit better. And that's a hard transition as well. So, we went from, the plan was this summer. I'd rented a venue for the summer. They gave me a 4-month lease. And the goal was to prove that like you could do esports training in like a community vibe in a collaborative way. And it was awesome. It worked. We had tournaments, we had afternoon programs, and you mentioned it before, like I had an unreal group of people who helped me build it. And we all took it super seriously, and it was special to all of us. And we kind of grew from this like original building to a bigger facility and doing more. And it was really a crazy transition to grow from this little shop in kind of like a strip mall to where we were and now where we are.
So in that 4-month period when you have your first location, you have your very first location, and you put on your first event, and you obviously learned something from there, and you move from the first event to the second, and you're kind of growing. What was the point that you realized, okay, if this is going to work longer than 4 months, I'm going to need something more here. I'm going to need a different facility, maybe something that was arranged differently, or something larger, or even something smaller, because that's also a possibility for someone running a business. You're like, I have too much space. But what was that moment? Was it about halfway through the first 4 months, or was it after that where you started to get some steam and you're like, I need to go to the next step?
Super interesting, because the venue has been one of our biggest assets, but also it's interesting because we'll talk about it in a little bit, but like the next venue we moved into was a financial strain on me, and I think it was not a smart business decision. And like looking back on that, we're now in our third spot after COVID. So we had our original spot that we were at during that like get it off the ground phase. We moved into a larger facility where we had awesome, huge events. We had Super Smash Brothers tournaments. We hosted the Overwatch League's visiting teams. So we were a practice arena for visiting teams when they came. Yeah. And all of the players said that we were the best player practice arena in all of the Overwatch League, because we thought of the players holistically. Like we had all of the gaming spaces, but then we also had like ping pong and like a place for them to just like, we had instruments. There were like all of these cool, just like, it was a place to compete and train and be, but it was also like, you are also something other than a gamer, and like here's like a way to interact. And like seeing like the Paris Eternal play like the Toronto Defiant in ping pong and then go off and like play on stream was like really cool to see, because that was like the whole vibe of like what we were. And so like we had this big venue. It was about 5,000 square feet. And then COVID hit, and we were poised for an amazing summer. The shopping center that we'd moved to, we moved specifically because there was already a number of youth like activities. There was like a gymnastics place. There were a couple gyms. It was kind of this more industrial thing, more than where we were before, which is kind of like an office strip mall.
Right.
And it was this awesome venue, but rent was high. And so like it was amazing to host the Overwatch League, but like that happens only a couple days out of the year.
Right.
And then COVID hit, and so we were ready for this epic summer, and then we downsized the venue. So the as a business owner and learning like this whole thing, it's been really tough to invest in spaces, try to make them special, and then deal with the reality of like having to run a business, and like now
Mm-hmm.
we've downsized and we have a essentially a storage facility and a broadcast center, so it's built mainly for content and
Okay.
broadcast.
Okay, that's really interesting right there. Is that
Yeah.
you went from the live event model to a content based model.
Yep.
And that's interesting. So, okay, so when you get into that second facility and I mean you're doing good stuff. You got some nice splash pieces. You're like, okay, Overwatch League loves us. You have a good solid foundation of, okay, we got solid customers. We have customers coming back again and again. We got all this stuff, and then COVID hits and ruins a lot of things for a lot of people. Was there ever a point in that process where you're like, I don't know if we can do this anymore?
Yeah. Like I was carrying this monthly rent,
Right.
and we pivoted our summer camps online. It's one of the things that I'm kind of like most proud about, is like we're here because we were able to like pivot and people leaned in. We shut down. We had a tournament that was supposed to happen on March 27th,
Mm-hmm.
and we held our first pilot online camp on April 4th. And we
Okay.
just like, it was something that we like realized. We were just like, look, we have to do this. So that was one of the things that we did. And then the other thing that we did that allowed us to survive is we reached out to like traditional sports organizations. So we made partnerships with like Virginia Youth Soccer Association
Nice.
and Monumental Sports. And we were like, look, we are going to have a gaming camp, and like you guys have big, keep your customer bases engaged, and we'll incorporate, basketball drills or soccer dribbling drills or different things into the camp experience. So, COVID made us do some really interesting and cool things that led to some partnerships, and some other like unique content in this online side. But, like online camp is, $150 to $200, and live camp is like $500 to $600. So,
Right.
Your effort remains the same, but you're
Mm-hmm.
making almost 2 times less.
Wow.
So, that's like the tough part of doing this. It was like we were working so hard,
Mm-hmm.
and we were just, maintaining, keeping our head above water. I got a PPP loan, which helped, which was a nice boost.
Nice.
And we just kind of like did what we needed to do to survive. At the same time, we like picked up some new partnerships. So like, it was really like this like we were, doing everything we could to like keep our head above water.
Right.
And we did it, and it led to some new cool things and all of that. But like, you're working very hard again to keep your head above water, not progress forward, which is, as a business owner, is challenging, for a variety of reasons.
Wow, there's a lot there to unpack. I mean, lessons as a business owner,
Yeah.
being able to pivot that quickly. And I'm absolutely certain that you're not the only one doing this. I would bet you had a really good team helping you.
Totally.
And it's in that crucible of struggle that you find out who's all in and who's just there to hang out, right?
100%. The cool thing is that I've gotten the pleasure and honor of working with some like amazingly brilliant people, and like some of our coaches have gone on to do amazing things. We have a coach who's coaching at Catholic University right now for their League of Legends team. We have a coach who's coaching with C9 on their Valorant team.
Wow, there
We have
you
a
go.
coach on yeah, right. We have a coach on the Pittsburgh Knights, which is a pro
Wow.
team in the Pittsburgh area.
Yep.
We have different people who are doing some really, really cool things. And to be able to be a part of what we're building and then go on to, something awesome is like, that's been a really, really awesome experience as well.
So that speaks directly to how you and your team have cultivated a community. And while there's always the issues with the business of trying to stay profitable and put on good events and deal with the environmental issues. You've had a good team around you. How have you and your team kind of avoided the social media drama pitfalls that seem to befall a lot of esports orgs, where you have people who get a little over their skis, they say something maybe they shouldn't say, they post something on Twitter they shouldn't. How have you navigated that?
Not always like well, I'll tell
Right.
you that much. You do the best you can, and like, I feel like I've definitely made mistakes in that realm, and I feel like when I do, I always try to go back and say I'm sorry and acknowledge it, and come to a better place and an understanding.
Right.
Nobody's perfect in any business, but I think that you acknowledge when you don't
Yeah.
handle things as well as you could. But I think that, like, having a great team is all about communication, and I think I try to talk with people I'm genuinely interested in them and what we're building.
Right.
And I think that makes a connection, and I care about the people that I work with, and I want them to succeed. I think it's tough when you're in a small business and we're having all these ups and downs.
Right.
That carries into your relationships with people, and you just have to manage those things. And people have bad days, and you say you're sorry, and you move on.
Right.
But I think that you just try to be open with people as much as you can, and that has done well so far.
Okay, so you go from the first facility to the second. COVID hits, struggles. You stayed alive. You got the PPP loan. You made some serious pivots, and now you're in the third building. Not only did you change facilities, but like you said, you shifted your overall model. You shifted from a live event facility into a content based concept. So there aren't a lot of people that can do that. So walk me through the steps when you're like, okay, we got all these issues to handle. What's the one thing that we can do to stay afloat, still be in front of people, still hold these events? Walk me through that whole transition with your team, because I would bet there were some people on your team who are like, okay, I don't do online stuff. I do, I coach in person. That's how I coach. We're holding these events. We have this monstrous facility, all these desks, all these computers. I mean, we have all this stuff set up to have people in our building, and now we're totally going to move away from that, right?
Yeah. Some people leaned in, others didn't. But that was where we needed to go. And so, we held this pilot camp, and that was really the game changer for me. We ended up, doing this week of camp, and as we're doing it, I was like, wow, like I'm a live events guy. Like that's where I really understand things. And so, to have this experience during this online camp. So by the time that we got to Friday afternoon and you said goodbye to people, it was like you were saying goodbye to like your camp friends. Like it felt
Right.
that same like feels. And that was when I was like, okay, we can do this. Like we can bring our vibe online and do it through Discord, do it through Zoom, keep things cheap, keep things light, keep things agile. And it was cool. It was very, very cool. And kids dug it. We had like on our online camps, we had kids from almost every state in America, which is pretty cool.
Wow.
Canada, and then we had a kid from Dublin, and we had a kid from Thailand who joined us.
Wow.
So
that's awesome.
like yeah, totally. Like the online camp thing was super cool, and it gave us the ability to interact with so many people who either we wouldn't have otherwise, or we obviously couldn't because of COVID.
So
So
okay,
it's cool.
so just as something I've always personally wondered about. It seems like to me that the resistance to more of an online option of events, and it doesn't even have to be gaming. It can be an overall be a conference about IT or finance or anything. It seems to me like like the resistance or even the lack of participation in those sorts of events is a generational thing. People my age, people in their late 40s, even people in their late 30s, we're used to, hey, I'm going to camp. Well, I got to pack all this stuff for a week, and then I got to, travel, and that's part of the fun, is the travel, and getting there and then experiencing and then coming home and blah blah blah. But now you're like holding a online camp where if in the middle of something your mom says, hey, I want you to stop what you're doing and go take out the garbage. You're like, Mom, I'm doing, no, take out the garbage right now. It just seems like to me that it's sort of, there's almost a generational barrier there. Am I wrong?
I don't think so. No.
Okay.
And all these kids are growing up in this world where they're, learning from home now. Like they have a teacher who's, they now have done this for 2 years. So, I think kids and people who have gone through this COVID experience are going to, be a little bit more understanding of like e-learning, e-meetings, doing all these different things. My family to stay and interact. We've done a magic show via Zoom. We had a sommelier join us.
Really? Wow.
We did trivia, and it was this awesome way to get everybody together, and we are still doing it now, even though we can see each other a little bit more. It's a cool thing, and so I think these things are kind of here to stay. In a way, it's much more normalized. But I also think that's why I also think that the live experience, that going to camp, that sleepaway camp, those different traditional camp experiences are worth, putting together with gaming, so that we can get kids to have that experience. Like, I want to be able to do, I want us to be able to, game and put in some time, like some really good, like training, and like put in some work, but then also go do like a bonfire and roast marshmallows.
Right.
Like,
yes.
those things are both important.
They are. I agree. I grew up with that. I'm like sitting there in the middle of the night with just a nice warm fire and a stick and a marshmallow. There's nothing like that smell. There's nothing out there that replaces the ability to smell the wood burning, and maybe you're sitting by a lake and there's nothing replaces that. Nothing ever will. And I like that you brought that up, because having a camp experience, even if it's maybe for only 3-4 days, is still something all kids and adults should be involved with. Now, I want to get into the point where, okay, you go from second facility to third facility, you're doing content. And I'm sure for a while you're like, can we make money doing content? Is that even possible? Because it seems like, every business model there's like a race to the bottom. Who can do it the cheapest and the fastest and at the highest volume and to make some money? So sort of walk me through it to the point where you started to realize we're actually making cash doing this.
We've gotten some big sponsorships and done some some big partnerships, and putting your name next to like Monumental, that like owns the Caps and the Wizards over here, or working with some of the organizations that we've worked with in the past. It's those moments when you're like, wow, this is real, and we're on, we're on the right path. I think that's like those little moments where you kind of sit back and you're like, all right, cool. Take that moment, and then you get back to work. But it's it was cool. It is cool to see a future with GameGym that is digital, that is different than I originally had like thought.
Okay.
You know, it's been a very cool experience, and the content, it allows you to reach so many more people. You know, like you can, you know, it's we will always have a community presence,
Right.
but if we can shift our attention to, you know, helping parents and kids, and you know, we're thinking of doing things in other languages because kids and parents around the world are struggling with video games.
Right.
You know, we're looking at other DC or other metro areas, not DC, other metro areas to expand in. Like, we have a huge opportunity, and I think that that's like the thing that is just, you know, most exciting about the whole process now.
So I want you to walk me through those those phone calls that you've had with some of these higher end people, like the Washington Capitals, and the people, the people who have access and the ability to sign large checks, I guess is the way I'm going to put it. So, what are those conversations like for you? For somebody, you started the GameGym, you know, 2018, and now you're on the phone with the CFO of the Washington Capitals.
It's pretty cool. So the people who own the Caps and the Wizards, Monumental,
Right.
have leaned into esports big time. They
Wow.
are
Nice.
in our industry. They are, you know, absolute, you know, people to look up to. The Wizards District Gaming has won back-to-back NBA 2K championships.
Yep.
Which is you know, pretty amazing. Winning back-to-back in anything is a pretty incredible feat in sports. You know, which is pretty cool. And so, you know, they've really, like, you know, they lean in, so they understand what we're trying to do at the community level to, you know, help get people involved, to help support people as they're like on this path, or to just give kids a great experience through, you know, NBA 2K, and then hopefully, you know, through that have them be a Wizards fan. It's a really cool experience because we're not really trying to convince them of the value of esports. They 100% get it. They are investing way more than you know, GameGym is in the
Right.
in the creation of this ecosystem.
Wow.
And so, like,
Okay.
being able to talk with them is just awesome. Like, it's, you know, there's I wish that every city in America had, you know, that kind of leadership
Right.
that was like driving things forward. And they have big plans for, you know, esports in DC. So it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, and as any business owner will tell you, that you can be as prepared and on point as possible. Some of your success is just plain luck, meeting the right person at the right time, and, you know, having the ability to take a phone call at a specific time with this big person. Sometimes it's just straight luck, and but where luck and preparation come together, that's where you have the opportunity. You're like, we're ready for this. We have the team, we have the facility, we have it. All we need is just somebody who believes in us, somebody who believes in what we're doing on the macro level of, okay, yeah, this is a definite long play. We believe in the long play. We see it happening, and we're willing to buy in. You're a very, very fortunate guy to be in that spot. I mean, I cannot impress upon people how lucky some people are just to be in the right place at the right time. And it's not that anybody is worse than anybody else. Sometimes it's just sheer luck, and you get in the right spot and you're like, let's go, let's make it work. So what I want now, I want the moment. I want the exact moment, the exact second, the half second where you were like, this sucks, I hate it, this isn't going to work. Then, holy crap, this is actually going to work. This is actually working. This is starting to pay for itself.
There's been a couple of those, you know, because it's interesting, you know, as you level up, you're always kind of pushing the upper level, and money has always been tight. We were existing for, a year and a half, and then COVID hit. And then since then, it's just been like survive. So, February will be 4 years of doing this, 2 of which have been during COVID.
Right.
So, it's been, oh my God, we're doing it. And then, oh, COVID's here. And then it's like, oh my God, we could survive this. And then it's like, oh, like we got to sustain. And, so it's this up and down kind of process as you kind of grow, and do the things that you need to do to survive. So I think, there's been a couple, like when we first did our very first summer camp, I remember finishing that Friday and like saying goodbye to everybody and like locking up and being like, this thing could work in a really big way. And that was very cool, realizing that an esports summer camp, that parents would pay for it, what we would do. Like when I first started, running a summer camp seemed like the biggest, hardest thing in the world. After doing programming and working with people and doing lessons and afternoon programs and things like that, like it was a little bit easier to get into this.
Right.
So we did 2 weeks, or we did 1 week of camp the last week of summer of 2018, and we had like 15 kids, and it was awesome, and it really showed me that I could do it, we could do it, and that, if we could get 15 kids here, like there's way more out there. I did no marketing. It was all like, very, very grassroots and small. So, that was a really, really cool moment. And now, like, we just changed our name from GameGym LLC to GameGym Inc., GameGym Incorporated.
Wow.
So that we could be and go on this investment journey and see how we can, where we could take this thing. So, that was a pretty big thing when I saw those kind of articles of incorporation come back, and you see the name up top, and like that was a pretty cool moment too.
Wow. And I'd imagine for you personally, you're like, when the realization hits, for somebody who's building something, you always think you're like an inch from like total disaster. You're like, one thing could go wrong and the world can. Meanwhile, everybody on the outside is like, man, you're doing it. You're doing great. Keep it up. You're like, I mean, I don't know if I could pull this out, but then that moment where it actually sinks in, you're like, yeah, this is actually working. Holy crap. This is actually working. I mean, it's just one of those realizations you're like, I actually did it. I actually pulled it out. This has to be something amazing for you, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's really special. It's really special to be able to do this. I've had so many people, be a part of it and help, and like yourself, just it's been like an amazing journey. To be able to do this is a true blessing, and I feel really, really lucky to be able to wake up and like do this and work with people on this goal that helps people in a variety of different ways. And whether it goes on for another 50 years or we close up tomorrow, like I'm incredibly proud of what we've done, and I think that that's, what more could you want,
Right. Okay. So we've talked about how you've had this realization. How have the conversations with the parents of these kids sort of changed over time? Because I'd imagine when you're starting this off, parents are like, I don't know, my kid spends an awful lot of time on the Xbox. I don't know if it's good for him. And now it's like, hey, well, all of my friends, all my adult friends, like, yeah, you gotta try GameGym. Mom, my kid did great. He thinks this, and like, okay, so might as well try it. So those conversations with the parents of these kids, how has that changed over time?
It's interesting because I'll say there's kind of one, it's very consistent in a way. Like there's still parents who are discovering, gaming and esports and what we do for the first time. Like we're still a pretty small company, and we've not been able to put, huge amount of marketing dollars out into the ecosystem. But on the other side of that, there's also now, I would say, parents who are much like the consumer group is much more aware. They've read a little bit more. They've heard of like this kid winning $3 million in Fortnite.
Right.
They, like they're aware of like, who Ninja is, and like in a way that like gaming and esports weren't part of like the public psyche in a way. They now kind of like know that it's a thing and that like their kid does it and like stuff like that. So I think that we still get a lot of parents who are like, why would I pay you to teach my kid how to play video games? And
Yeah.
like there's, for us, there's kind of, we talk about the benefits of video games, but we also tell them this really cool story. And when Taekwondo came to America, like parents said, why would I pay you to teach my kid how to fight?
Right.
And over time, people learned like it wasn't about that. It was about, camaraderie and discipline and learning when not to fight and, leveling up your belts and, this, really, great atmosphere that a dojo creates. And, now over time, like pretty much, Taekwondo is almost exclusively for kids now.
Yeah.
That is, where I see esports going. So when we talk to parents about it, it's like, look, like, yes, there's a lot of issues with video games, but it's because we have no one guiding or teaching our kids through this experience.
Yeah.
And what we're seeing now is the effort or the ramifications of the inaction of the last 20 years.
Right.
And what we need to do now going forward is educate our kids better, talk to them about it, like play with them so we know what's going on. And then we're going to see much better results out of games, and how people interact with games in the next 20 years.
So who was your first champion that wasn't on staff, wasn't somebody who paid for a sponsorship? Who was the first champion that you had that was, may have been one of your customers or somebody you dealt with in your day-to-day operations? Who was that person?
We've had a couple great people, great winners, in a variety of different ways, which is kind of cool. I'll say one of the people that I was incredibly impressed with. This is a guy who came to a majority of our tournaments, our Smash tournaments, called Flex, and his tag is Seagull Joe, and this is a guy who pretty much would walk in every day and people would expect him to win. And he was a champion far before for us, so we didn't create him.
Right.
But for me and like I think I'm answering the question, like seeing and experiencing this guy and what he did was really amazing. Like to be able to walk into a room and everybody know that you're the guy, and then to defend your championship. Like I don't think he lost once. Like he dropped a set here and there, but like I don't think he lost if he came to our tournament. And that was an experience that I got to kind of see on a very like cool level. And he worked with us for a little bit and taught some like cool lessons. And we were working on a sponsorship and working with him, and then COVID hit, so we just kind of like things kind of progressed from there. But he was one of the people that like I got to see like a true like champion like come and like do work every other day.
Okay.
And that was like pretty epic,
And it's something that doesn't make news. It's something that doesn't make for good headlines, but it's something every organization needs. You need that one person or one or two people who are, one, excellent at what they do, and two, are perfectly willing to spend time with other people around them and to help them grow and to help them feel like they can get better. If you want to be like me, kid, I'll show you exactly how to do it. The rest is up to you. And those people, those those grinders, I guess is a good word for it, that know that have a good understanding of the path. Because you can spend all the marketing dollars you want. You could bring in great staff, but you know what? If you can't play the game, it doesn't matter if it's football, baseball, basketball, soccer, or if it's Fortnite. If you can't play the game, it don't matter. It just don't matter. If you have that person, those people in your group that are like, okay, I'm good at what I do, and I'll teach you exactly everything I know, and that makes the kids want to come back. Because if the kids aren't having a good time, they're definitely not coming back. And it's the kids who go, mom, 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 mom. There's just the thing at the game gym. I have to go. I'm like, what the hell is the game gym? You're like, let me explain to you what the game gym is, mom. And that's what matters is that if you don't have the reoccurring customer base and the culture, it doesn't matter how much you spend on Facebook ads. It don't matter, because if people don't know how to play and don't have a good time doing it, it isn't going anywhere, right?
Totally. And like I think that goes for like anybody who's, starting a LAN center or opening up a facility. You don't need top of the line stuff. You don't need, get and save dollars where you can on those things,
right,
and invest in like great people who can help produce great programming and bring people into your space and create a community. Because the home gaming experience, my setup is perfect for me.
Right.
Like in the same way that yours is perfect for you.
Right.
And it's the same reason why like movie theaters are dying, is that like people have such a great home experience, is that to go to the gaming center or the wherever it is, LAN center, whatever it is in your community, you need great programming, because my setup at home is already exactly what I want.
Right.
And so, I feel like a lot of people, when they start a facility, they like, what is like the top of the line? What do we need? And they spend a lot of money on stuff like that. And I wish that they would invest a little bit more in, creating that community and bringing people in who have been already invested in the scene and help support what they're doing on a greater scale.
Yeah.
Like that's one of the best things that you could do for your community.
So through all this buildings and events and COVID, I want to talk about something that a lot of people probably don't think about until like the ninth thing down the line. What about your family? What about your spouse? What about through all this? How has that worked for you? Because there's got to be times where you go several days, maybe a week or two, without really seeing your spouse, other than hi, I'm going to work. That's about it, right?
Totally. Yeah. I have an amazing wife. I really do.
Yeah.
I've got an amazing support system in my family. People get it. And it's been, this has been really stressful on me. And
yeah,
those moments when you wake up and you start your day with like an insufficient funds notice,
wow.
like those are rough days,
Yeah,
and like
they are.
those happen to us all. And I think that like, you need people who are understanding, and I feel like at times I've been better and like balanced better, and there's other times that I haven't balanced as well. But luckily, like I said, I have an amazing wife who's like ride or die, and she's with me, and
Good.
Good. It's part of why I work so hard to do this. So yeah, I mean you balance is tough, but I think that when you have a good partner, they like help remind you and help hopefully bring you back to balance.
So what's the best a piece of advice that she gave you?
So at the very beginning of all of this, she was one of the people so she sent me this TED talk, and we sat down and watched it, and it was this guy Simon Sinek. Have you ever heard of him?
Yep, I have.
He's awesome.
Yep.
He's great, like really cool, like just mind-opening things. But he had this thing, and it was this thing on leadership, and the whole point of it was kind of like, people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it.
Yeah.
And that was like a big thing that like I brought into, brought into GameGym from an early like start, and still, as we pivot online, as we do different things, I still try to like, make that a reality, make our why like a central piece to like what we're doing. And so, she was the one who sat me down, and we talked about it, and she's reminded me at different points, and
Mm-hmm.
that's definitely a thing that I stick with, and we've even introduced it and had some of our kids watch it at camps and talk about it. So it's a very powerful TED talk.
And you're an extremely fortunate person. Is that you have you have a spouse, you have a partner who is in your life, and she buys into you. She doesn't buy into the idea the way you do, but she buys into the fact that she buys into you. She buys into, I believe in this person in my life, and I believe in them so much, and I love them so much, and I want their success so badly that I will support them. I will give them advice. I'll probably say things they maybe don't want to hear in the moment, but there will be times when, that watching that person succeed is like, it's like the best feeling. And you're like, this is why I love this person, is that I buy into their success and their joy. And that is having that connection in your life is rare. And so you're a very fortunate person to have a wife like that is willing to go, okay, well, if this is the direction you want to go, I'm going to help you out. I'm going to give you this TED talk. I'm going to keep you on track. 'Cause there's going to be times when you're going to be going 50 directions, and I'll have to kind of, recenter you and go, no, remember what we talked about. And you're like, got it. Okay. And then you move back in that direction. You're like, okay, got it. Thank you. This is why I love you. And because I believe me, I'm the same way. I am scatterbrained at times. My wife will kind of come up and she go, okay, so what's the problem today? And I'll tell her, and she goes, okay, you're not focusing on the right things right now. I'm like, you're okay. I'm like, you're right. Thank you very much. I love you. I appreciate you. And then you move forward. And I can't, and whoever that person is in your life, whoever your partner is, whoever that spouse is, whoever that connection is, those are rare connections. And I'm glad that you have that in your life. So I want to hear, what are the 3 hardest things that you had to learn in this entire process from February 2018 to the day we're recording this, October 24th, 2021. What are the 3 hardest things that you had to learn?
There's never enough money.
Okay.
That's something that I feel like is just, you're always, in this business, you're always, growing, you're always trying to keep going, which means there's always, you're always, well, and also during COVID. But, I wish I would have spent money on some different things over the years that kept a little bit more money in our pocket. Part of that is overhead, which is like the venue thing. The venue was amazing, but I made the mistake by going to this larger venue. I just I believed in it, and at the time, it was not the worst idea. Like, it wasn't a horrible idea, but it was like, it was a little bit of a stretch, so that was big. And then money, overhead. Yeah, I don't have too many problems there.
So I think the third one is right there. And I think the third one is this. You shifted. A lot of people have a difficult time shifting. So what is it about your mindset when you realize something's not working and I need to pivot to something else? Because a lot of people get on a track and they think, if I stick with this long enough, it has to work. But the best people in business go, this isn't working. And they do it well before everybody else does, because they realize, wow, I can see this not working down the road. But some people get so married to an idea, they can't let it go. I think the third one for you might be being able to shift. Am I wrong?
No, I think you're right. I think it's tough when you invest so much into an idea, whether it's a
Yeah.
program or a product or whatever,
Yeah.
and you create it and you make it, you like the afternoon program for me. That was what we started as. That was my intention. Like I wanted this to be something that, you drop your kid off at gaming, like you drop them off for soccer.
Right.
And what we're seeing is like, at the end of the day, parents are still willing to drop their kid off for soccer or basketball or music, but it's tough to get your parent to drive you Monday through Wednesday or whatever
Right.
to gaming practice, especially when you can do it from home.
Right.
So, the overhead and like those kinds of things, I learned like so much. But I also was going somewhere with that, and I was talking, and now I can't. I lost my train of thought.
No, that's
What was the question again?
well. No, it's being able to shift, being able to
shift.
being
Yeah.
able to shift your focus from this is exactly what I want to do to like this isn't working. I need to try this now.
Yeah. So it's a lot of it's been pass fail, like with COVID.
Okay.
Like, it was like we were doing live events and we were running that program, but shifting to the smaller venue and then running online was great. It was really great. It was a great it was tough in execution because everything was new. It's that kind of build the plane as you fly it mentality. But
Yep.
once the plane is built, like it's an awesome plane.
Yeah, it is. It is. I agree. Oh, Josh, this has been a huge moment for me because watching you grow, watching the GameGym go from the afternoon thing to events. I mean, having a couple Overwatch teams go, this is the best place to practice. I'm like, that had to be. You're like, I'm winning. This is the best thing ever. And now you're like, I have to shift again and do content. I mean, you probably thought in that moment, I won, and I won right here. And then watching you shift to a content model and online camps. For me, this has been huge because I've watched myself sort of evolve over time too. We go from where I started just like one headset and one computer and all audio to now I edit my own stuff and I post on the different platforms. I can definitely see how you sticking with this. It's been awesome. I've like had flashbacks to 2018 throughout this entire conversation.
Crazy, man.
Walking through 2019 and Evo and TwitchCon and all the stuff that I've gone to, and just like shaking your head like, holy crap, it's only been 3 years. Like, I'm not that old, I swear.
Isn't that crazy?
I know. I'm like, I'm not that. I mean, heck, my granddaughter is 4 years old now. My granddaughter is 4.
Wow.
And I just like shake my head. I'm like, wow, this process, Josh, you're an amazing human for coming on my show again. I know you're a busy dude. So I have some information right there on the overlay. GameGym Esports. I have the link tree for GameGym Esports. I have that link right there. The GameGym Esports Twitter handle at GameGym Esports. If there are people that want to get a hold of you directly, how do they do that?
My email is josh@gamegym.com. Hit me up. Would love to rap, meet you, talk about business, talk about not business. Let's connect.
And you can also find him on Twitter at Extra Barbecue, I follow Josh there, and that's how we reconnected. Josh, thank you very, very much for making time for me. I appreciate it, sir. Thank you.
Dude, thank you, man. Like this is the best. You ask great questions, you make me think, and make me reflect, and I think that that's the sign of a great interviewer. I always enjoy talking to you, and I appreciate that. A lot of this has been super nostalgic. This is, doing this is like we've talked about. You can't do it alone, and getting people who help along the way. Whether that's you doing the interview and starting your podcast, or me doing this and being a guest on it, like it's
Right.
just it's nice to help people, and it's been, great talking with you and seeing, you grow as well. So, thank you for the opportunity, and I'm sure this won't be the last time we chat.
I'm absolutely certain it will not be the last time we chat, Josh. Thank you again, everybody. Thank you for tuning in today. Head over to GBIRL.com. You will see GBIRL Raw, some of the audio exclusive episodes there. You will find this interview right here on this YouTube channel. Please do like, share, subscribe. Thank you all for tuning in, and I will see you very soon.
Thank you for tuning in today. You can find links to everyone on the show in the description below. Check out Bill the Conqueror on Twitch and Twitter to stay up to date on his thoughts and ideas about gaming culture.